see what happens. See what goes on. We got some topics then to go on, just random, and see what happens. See where we end up.
Sorry, hang on.
We're on now.
Sorry about sorry about my mic. Bloody notifications come in and it cuts everything off. Yeah, I've got a couple of things we can run through later. Just not really for info, but just to give some insight. I'll discuss exactly what it is later, but just give some insight and a few questions I have, and I'll read a few things out if you like at some point. And yeah, just to bring info and let everybody decide for themselves. So we can cover that at some point. It's all good.
Yeah. How is it in Sweden, Anders? How's the weather? I bet it's warmer than here.
Yeah, it's been a really nice day today. Here it is warm and nice.
Oh, Sweden's beating us on the weather front.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how it is when you live in the south.
All right. So you're the Swedish version of Cockneys.
Ja. Hej har vi! Hej har vi! Jag har grejer här. Jag är då pantoflagrad. That was the Swedish Cockney.
Right, what have I got plugged in here?
Hello to Tube. Let me just say hello. It is Moon Day, the 24th of the 5th. The year is 2021, in case you've just woken up out of a dense coma. And I have a few guests arriving as we're speaking. There is I, David, Laidback Gansters, and Sovereign Kevin. So far, we have Stephen and Jerry and John in the chat room. Can I say it is a pleasure to see Brother John of the Middleton clan back. Been a long time. We will catch up accordingly. There is a fist bump for all, and respect. It's an open chat. It's entitled Full Moon in Sagittarius, a lunar eclipse for our luna-tics on this moon day. So a bit of syncretism there. We're not worshippers of, doesn't mean anything specific. It's just a random public chat, and we were going to go live yesterday. Let the dogs out. We were going to go live yesterday, but I cooked my little coconut by writing the next document. I have a raw draft of around 50 pages and 60,000 words, all focused on etymological references, highly based upon Chiron Last's publications of work. And I'm going to amalgamate into that our ethos, as I say, Bruce Lee, learning from the best and making our own style. So the next release publication that you're going to receive in due course in a short while, they're not boats, we're at ease. But yes, that's going to be a fantastic addition to our assets and resources. So, Anders, Kevin, at your own leisure, you can say hello to the room, chat, introduce yourself, and I'll share this to the Telegram and areas. Thank you all for joining.
Hello all. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep the mic off the moment because I've got dogs are barking. But good evening, everybody. I can see you all in the room. Tony, Michael, Steve, John, Jerry. Good evening to you all. Much love. Seymour. Anton, is that? Looks a bit. Gansders, I've already spoke to you. You're not getting the second one.
No. Seymour Butts. Oh, Bart Simpson classic, ringing up Moses like, hello there. Quality, Philip. channel supporter. Nice one. Tony Moore, channel supporter. I see they're growing. Thank you for that. You shall be rewarded for your generosity. Watch out for your exclusive posts. Yes, anybody got out to say before we crack off? We have got a little narrative to stick to, I suppose. Aside from today, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. Claudio is our resident, what would we say, horoscope, zodiac, and starcaster with regards to the places and etc. We've obviously got our own knowledge with regards to the solar system, the zodiac, and the relevance to Aries, salaries, dictionaries, constabularies, horses, water, electricity. Ban Ki-moon was a name of a man upon a certain council. You may recognize that name, Ban Ki-moon. Moon day, moony, moonstrull, all right, full moon, moon face, moon pie. I'm going to shut up. Oh.
Yeah, and I am Anders. I am the international admin. That's all I am. I'm nothing else.
International rescue.
Yeah.
And the birds. I'll go.
No, but the thing is, I don't really know where my place is. That's where I am all over it, you know. So, and it feels better too. I'm not good at anything.
You are. You're a scientist. You're good at many things. You're not just anything. You are, and whatever you are is finding your place within this, the family, with the trust, with the clan. We all have a certain amount of attributes, transferable skills, and what you may think that, but it's actually, yeah, what you do is what you're walking the path. Without a journey, there can be no destination. So yeah, Claire's here as well. Sorry, I did miss Claire. Sister Claire's in the background listening for now. But yeah, we've all got. Thank you, my love. We've all got places, and yeah, you surprise me. You may surprise yourselves as well, without the combined effort. Even the scribes in the chat room, the comments, the feedback, the praise, the grumbles. It's intricately reflective. You know, we have the universe inside us. We're in this, I don't know, paradigm, and based on atoms, electrons, and etc. And it's all working itself out. Like I say about coincidence, it's gone past the point of amazement as such now. The way that things happen, it's truly amazing. Some call it, you know, miraculous. And the West has a language, a context of how to explain divinity. So we stop trying to explain things now and accept them. So that's it's nice of you to say, to be so humble, Anders, but you've brought much to the table and surprised us in many ways. You've brought pilots, you've brought Ahura Mazda, you've brought GANs, science, everlasting bananas for me, and fruits and so forth. You've got rid of a crick, wrist and pain. So Kevin's brought along his own remedies with Graham, and taught me a thing or two. Old dog, new tricks. Claire has brought her many and various skills in, I'm going to say, psychological areas. And that might not be right, but her skills, attributes, knowledge, you know, and everybody on the Telegram chat that's there now, I think we've got 200 and something, all have got their unique individual styles, capabilities, you know. So we're not just anything. You may say that, but it's a combined effort, you know. We sharing is caring. That's how we move forward. So I'm very grateful to know you all and to have you all, and we're all equal and important as one another. Bless up. There we go. So that's shared. We are good. A little bit of update while it's quiet. I've been approached in the Telegram chat by a lady called Beth. I can't remember her full calling or identity, but she sent a link to me regarding possible interviews going forward, much similar to what brother Chris of Rice TVX on YouTube mentioned. We're going to have some kind of steering wheel committee. I'll get you some information on that shortly, but 2 more podcasts in the near future are booked in for the 11th of June to go and say hello and present again. She's seen the interview with Rice TV and Chris, so that's gone well. There's some good feedback there. I tried to be reserved on that, but yeah, thank you all for your comments and support there as well. It's Choose Freedom Law Summit with Beth of the clan Martins and a man called Matt Belair, Belair, so Belair. There's a lot of names on there already. I'll put the link into the chat room for you to see. She's presented herself, Beth, through Telegram, like I say. There's somebody called Catherine Austin Fitz, a man called Alfonso Fagilo, Amanda Volmer, Mark Pitelek, Robert Menard, Christopher Gronsky, a man with a big beard and a bald head, Tom Barnett. I've seen him on Facebook chatting, I do believe, quite a bit in the last 12 months. King Hero panel discussions is what they're going to be doing. First-hand victory stories from those on the front lines of law. They'll be sharing their trials, tribulations, victories and defeats, and comparing notes about what worked, what didn't, and why. So moving on, Jessica Brink, Carl Washington, Paul Unslaved, Timothy P. Madden, and then there's a picture of Matt Belair, podcaster, athlete, coach, and truth teller. Matt Belair is an intrepid truth teller on a mission to share the knowledge people need to gain their freedom and health. And then at the bottom, there's a bonny picture of a lady there, Sister Beth Martens, host of the King's Heroes Journey podcast, author, archetype, and business coach and coach trainer. Beth is a stand for God-given mental, spiritual, and law freedom. So there you go, a little bit of news there. It's the link will come in now, so you can all have a look at that, where I've just read that from. Chat room and co. Gosh, there you go. Anders, Kevin, you want to shelp up anything?
Yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
Things that are on your mind, things, obviously you're Swedish, international connection, so anything you've got to say on your home front news there, what you've heard internationally, anything you've seen around the public Telegram chat, anything you've picked up on that you think's relevant in these times. Kevin and I have got a couple of narratives, and we'll take some open questions from the chat room, so there is a little bit of a delay. So I'd like to hear the opinions on those names and that link that I've given you there for opinions on. I don't know, I only know a couple of those names. So
Hero.
Yeah, that's just been posted into the chat room now for you to have a look at.
I've watched a couple of Beth's videos. She does some good videos, and Alfonso on Observation Deck was how I found you, David, because after I watched Alfonso's video on Observation Deck, I then saw yours. Good, yeah, he does some good stuff.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, it's the consciousness is expanding, and by joining together, as I said previously, and sharing, putting our pieces on the table, we'll have a bigger, better picture of who and what and where we are. So our way of doing stuff in England is quite unique because we've only ever had front runners that have been presented via YouTube and American sites, and then we've had to do the contrast of contracts, agreements, common law, constitution, Magna Carta, UCC, Admiralty, Maritime, Ecclesia. You know, we had Franco Collins, not English. We had Santos Bonacci, Australia. We've had Glosser and Romley, Australia. We had Bill Turner, New Zealand. We haven't had a lot of the English strength. So for us, we're going through a little bit of a independent renaissance, turning from a legal public civil entity into a private lawful republic of sorts. So we are playing very much catch up. A lot of the nations, countries, land masses, you know, have got a good handle on things, but we're doing a lot, as you can see, with our publications and works with regards to the trust equity triangle. And we on Facebook in 2015 made the family there, the essentially a private lawful trust in 2015. So we've been at this 6 years building it up, and then obviously 17ish finding trusts and equity, the triangle, and comparing two. We went to this title of sovereignty. We was one of the first pioneering sovereign, you know, not the first, one of the first to put sovereignty out there, going through the 10 commercial maxims and contrasting them to the 20 legal maxims of equity, finding out about, you know, the affidavits and the sovereignty truth, and how these, what would we say, axioms and maxims and precepts, the 10 commercial maxims of law have got precepts with them, and then precepts are taken from the Bible. I'm not sure which version, I couldn't be precise, but either the 1611 KJV or the New World Testament, either way, they're very much similar, slight differences as we've explained. So we've gone through a lot of pioneering work, because we didn't have any homegrown Anglo, you know, Republican type voices for us to follow. And then over the last 6 years, we've given you 95% of what we've found. We've promoted sovereignty. We've done the comparisons and contrasts too, as is on this channel in its history, and in the Facebook group, and then has been embedded and laid down into the various places of our private foundation, educational, lawful trust as splspro.com. So we've come a long way, and we are very grateful to all them names and more that we've mentioned, you know, and this is what we're doing. And you're all here on part of that journey. And without the journey, there can be no destination. And we've done an awful amount of correcting along the way. We've made mistakes. And I'm happy to say, why am I happy to say that? Because we've learned from the mistakes and we have corrected massively. And we continue even today. Kevin and I have corrected the conditional acceptance with regards to how we would look at legal claims. Perhaps it would be better to point blank refuse them. Refused for cause, and then if the issuing claimant authority doesn't allow us to issue within the 72 hours remit, denial of contract, no contract, no consent, and refused for cause. I'm not going to tell you what we've been discussing, it still needs finalising, but we had a rather good chirp today about that. If then the issuing claimant and authority, UK civil legal, doesn't allow us to have this private remedy and not consent, not contract, refuse it for cause, then we would look at a conditional acceptance. Then we would be able to put in the schedule of fees, and then we would be able to get them into a position of fault, furthermore default, and then we can get the ball rolling in a much more concise way. Is that roughly what we said, Kevin? I think so.
I think it's more than roughly what we said, Dave. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, we had a little chat about it, and yeah, just sort of, I suppose, in a way, rerouting, if you like, if we're talking of paths and journeys. maybe looking at a slightly different route to destination, which seems logically correct, as David just explained. So I think a lot of the stuff we were also saying is, I think what gets lost sometimes, and we all do it, I think, is you learn so much and you move on and you learn new stuff or information that comes that's useful. And we tend to get drawn away from the very basics, which when you have discussions like David and I did today, you suddenly go, oh, hang on a minute, we're forgetting basic stuff, you know. So you're gathering information, but you're running almost before you can walk. And I think you forget, because all this new stuff comes in, you think that's useful, we can put that in there, we can do that. And then you start forgetting about the very basics, the simple stuff, which is ultimately where you want to try and be, is keep it simple and concise. The more you put in, then the more avenues for diversion you're giving them as well. So yeah, I think making it more concise, keeping with basics, is very important. As I say, we all get distracted a bit with all the information coming at us all the time, or new discoveries. So yeah, it was productive. It was good chat this morning, and it just grounds you a bit more. Right, mustn't forget, you know, the basics, the ABC. Start there, the 1, 2, 3, and the other numbers will fall into place, as will the info. But as I say, I think we do tend to not overcomplicate. Even you just forget basic stuff that's really important, which I think is paramount in this, in what we do. So it's almost a distraction. Too much information's a dangerous thing, and I think that's relevant right there.
Yes, we often forget, you know, we are in simple terms, we are not the legal personality they have written to in a civil jurisdiction of the UK in a offence, you know, issue, because crimes would be England and Wales. And then that's when Halsbury would become applicable. Halsbury's law quotations in a UK civil rules and policy statutory environment are not relevant. We've got a lot that we can now articulate and talk to you about and hold your hand through. That quote about reference Lord Edward Coke, corporations cannot commit treason nor be outlawed nor excommunicated, for they have no souls. So what I would like to expand on there briefly is that they've written to a soulless dead entity. And if you want to take that part and react to that, you know, soulless dead entities claims and start conditionally accepting, and I know we conditionally accept and we separate the grantor, settlor, principality, etc., trustor and whatnot to the surname, the debtor. We assign the creditor-debtor relationship, and then we start to separate. We're doing an awful lot of work, and often we find that the corporation claimant issuing authority that was written to the address, the office, and to the strawman, legal personality, state, Mr., Mrs., all caps, doesn't know what we're saying. Often then, even at the correction of an appointment, to disregard that and move to, often down the line, the debt collection agency. They then commit torts on us, even though we've given you the 20 maxims, you know, of equity to battle, to counter the legal parameters. They still don't, they fall on deaf ears. So what our premise is, we now use paperwork to argue, not phone calls, not emails. Email is just as good as mail. So those, you know, mail in itself, legal mail, as we know of, signed for special delivery, can be just as effectively served via email to the right department as a record of that. There's delivery receipts, read receipts, delivery is acceptance. So you don't have to spend time drafting out fancy paperwork, seals and stamps, embossing it and whatnot. You do need to adhere to certain things, which we'll go through at a later date. But then once we reject and let them know, we get them into a position of full default opportunity to cure. They don't listen. So then later, when they do try to call in the big barriers and etc., we can then just say, well, this case claim has no standing, it has no validity at law. It started civil and administrative. Now it's going to be criminal, and it's going to go from UK at law level to the side of crimes, and crimes would take it from UK into England and Wales. Then we can start using such things as referencing Halsbury's laws, commentary and whatnot, and we can say we've endeavoured to decline this and refuse it. We'll give you the concise references for the reasons to refuse. It doesn't come from Magna Carta, it doesn't come from Constitution. We're not in a police state right now, even though it seems that we are, and we know how we can use the rejection methods. The rule of law, governs the force of law, and that comes from the ministerial areas and the ministers, and they have to act on this. These agencies that are out there in the seas of commerce are obviously appointed by the principals, PLE principals in government, such as the Department for Transport, Mr. Grant Shapps. He's then appointed the DVLA, the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. It could be the Child Management Services, which is an agency. It could be the Department for Work and Pensions, which is an agency. So we've got the correct articulate pathways to put ourselves back into the principality, use our person to be the beneficiary, and to look at the rejection and the injection of that, to sort the controversy out. If they force us to proceed and they ignore many of our rights and things, then this is where we would then move from the UK public civil levels, and we would go into at law, and we would look at rights and fundamental rights, trust correction, getting into property, the nature of property claims, and it's quite deep. We'll simplify it for you, but just know that it's continuously improving, and we will use their own laws as well as such quotations, such like Ezekiel, I will make with them a covenant of peace and rid the land of wild animals, so that they may dwell securely in the wilderness and sleep in the forest. Hosea, on that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air and the creatures that crawl upon the ground, and I will abolish bow and sword weapons of war in the land, and will make them lie down in safety. I yield. Oh wow. It's coming on nicely. Just excuse me a minute. Hand it over to you. Yanka needs me 1 second. Take over, fam.
No worries. I think I've got my mic on. I better check. Yes, I have. Before I go spouting rubbish that nobody can hear. Anyway. Yes, as David's saying, everything's continually moving forward. There's always new discoveries, new angles, or certainly we look at new angles. Nothing standing still. Thank the Creator for that. We do appear to be moving forward at all times, which is always a good move. Some movement, no stagnating. But it does get going back to what we were just saying about keeping it simple and remembering basics. You get so lost in new stuff and let's try this, try that, and then you're starting to sort of neglect very basic tenets of law, if you like. Which all of this is about. It's all about your foundation. Your foundation's strong, then the rest of the rest of your build holds up, doesn't it? So important in that respect. But yeah, it's constantly moving. As I say, you think, even David and I, and we speak virtually every day, and there's always something new. There's always a new subject or another angle or some new legislation or some new CPR that might come along, and you suddenly see it and where it might be useful. So yeah, a constant evolution that we're working, never-endingly working at. But as I say, I think you do find the danger sometimes where you're then forgetting very basic stuff, which is that's your foundation on everything. Basic points of law, maxims, etc. Their rules. So, oh look, he's back. Here he is. Weather's nice where you are, Dave, I see. Oh, I was just basically just covering again what we've been saying, really, and about, you know, everything moving all the time. We're always moving forward, always new stuff. But there is that danger that you start to forget the basics, and which are, as I say, your foundation. Everything's about your foundation. Without a solid foundation, the rest of the building don't stand up, does it? So, yeah, just keep, you know, remember the basics.
Yeah, no man can be judged guilty until he's been in a court and judged in a, you know, in a lawful way. And we often find that people try to say we are guilty, and they want to, you know, take us as standard. We're getting to the point now where standard legal person, public legal person is not what we are. We don't accept those entitlements and liabilities, and we can hold them to account and ask them for proofs. And you know, the PCN penalty charge and notifications. Oh, well, you are the V5 registered keeper of the keepership. You know, boat, people, water, as we've said, admiralty, maritime, inclusions of law of the land, law, land, air, water, land, common law, air, trust, water, admiralty, maritime. So we're on land with the Marish maritime, you know, admiralty type governance by default for the UK civil common law type areas. But so we have a mixture in the jurisdiction that we have to correct and hold them to. Who says we are a V5 registered keeper? Did we have disclosure upon that? You know, no, we didn't. So we can't say that that agreement stands. People come out with comments such as, well, you are contracting with them because you've got a driving license, you've got the V5 keepership, you've signed up and agreed to, so you can't stand there and argue that you are, you know, the one. You're not the one. You've agreed to it. But our argument premise to that is we didn't have full disclosure upon that. So therefore, once we look at that and start to correct it, that will all fall down because we will express the correct trust positions and appoint and liability. We may have signed with full liability, but we've learned now to do certain things in a different way. And we would then, that's part of your estate administration as we're trying to teach. So if namely before you lay the foundations, yeah, we would find out what the foundation itself will rest on. Is it solid rock or is it sand? You know, the reason for that is obvious. Or say it another way, you need to stand under the foundation to get a true understanding. And what are the foundations? We believe they were common law, but the common law, as we've explained in the previous video on my Be Earth Day, where we talked about Magna Carta, and we put some premises out there. If you look on the channel for the 9th of May chat that was on my Be Earth Day, when we come to see you, when we had that giddy, busy chat, you know, we examined that and we put down our impressions of it. The original conceptual foundations are faith, the faith, which is why you've got the precepts of the Bible within the 10 commercial maxims of this Christian nation, this English, Anglican, etc. No matter which one, the UK even incorporates it, and we decide, you know, the foundations, and within the Bible, faith, and we decide if Christ not be risen. And in order to do that, we must go back not 2,000 years to the birth of Christ, but 8,000 to 10,000 years to the birth of modern man. And we've worked forwards, which is a lot of time to look at and cross-reference. And when we, I, Kevin, Anders, Claire, you, the scribes, when you seek to establish foundations, you must begin at the beginning. You can't jump in halfway through at Magna Carta, common law, trust law, or anything. As I've said, trust law isn't legal, ecclesiastical, It's private and Abrahamic, and that's because I went back to the beginning and I'd argued for this legal Roman law. Then the beginning is the first book of Moses in Genesis. That's the Egyptian connotations within Genesis. Genes and Isis, as remember. To put that in perspective, the New Testament, the canonization, Jesus spoke the truth to his accusers. He would justify himself by quoting LORE law to their Roman law accusations. He would quote God's law after quoting God's law. These aren't our writings. These are what we found and what we give you. He would often quote the accuser's law and use that against them as well. So Jesus would say, did you never read in the scriptures, and then quotes God law to them. So that's part of the discovery between our linguistic codex, codes, phonics, Phoenicians, definitions, text, subtext written in the Bible, and what then is written and transferred into legal code. And that legal code is never crossed while educating the masses. Our church and state are indeed one, and they cannot be separated, as the Queen's coronation and the laws show you there. And the authority of all law is based on God's law, ceded to man. So that's the separation we go through. We all right? Kevin's just dropped off. All right, I thought we'd cut off. I'll end it there. So you get the idea when you think, you don't have to follow the law. We do indeed follow the law, and we're very good at separating that and finding out, how we do that. And that's just a brief, rendition, summarization off the top of my bonds. Anders, it's me and Dee and Claire. Any comments? I'm going to go in the room and have a look at the chat. Hello, Moscow. Come in, Moscow. Comments?
I just got slung out.
All right, bro.
First time that's happened. Strange.
Stephen says he's underpinning
Very
a bungalow at the moment. No foundations. Yeah. Bungalow was falling down.
There you go. What were we just saying about foundations, Steve?
Anne says yes. Jesus is in the house of the Jonesy. We call him Jonesy. They're ramping up the UFO now. Are we ready for touchdown? Well, I believe they ramped it up when Trump made the American Space Agency. And then we had the CIA disclosure of the Tic Tac, and etc. Eric Van Daniken's been doing it for time. This, 1960s, he wrote a book there, Chariots of the what? Of the Sky, Chariots of, I forget, what is it called? Sky Gods?
The Gods. Chariots of the Gods.
Blue Beam. What else we got? Let's look at the room and include them because it's busy. We've got 42 in the house. Let's have a look, see what they're saying.
Majestic 12.
Oh, wow. Blue Book, Paperclip.
Yeah.
Montauk Project.
Yeah.
Simon's quoting 2 Timothy. View whole chapter, see verse. For God have not given us the spirit of fear, but power of and love and of sound mind. Yes, I preach to the teach. Thank you, Menza. Billy Goat, I recognise you. Making you blue. I'm making some man's blue as well. So thank you all. Says Billy Goat says, finally got my Virginia. Glad on my dyslexia just told me females anatomy there. My Virginia Commonwealth certificate of live birth, live in Florida. Okay, that's good to know. You can prove in other ways about being incarnate and corporeal rather than incorporeal. And Matthew scriptures, for instance, 2 men, wherever 2 or more are gathered in my name, then I am with them. We've looked at live birth from hospitals nowadays, 2021. They seemingly give out a certificate, an announcement, a record, a legal publication of live birth with every born, soul that comes in. Whereas us, older ones from the 70s and 80s, possibly early 90s, have just got to scramble around looking for stuff, but then we look at what the live birth in the hospital and the registrar, you know, midwife, registrar in a hospital refer to involuntary beating, etc., parts of the placenta, umbilical cord, and appertaining in a legal sense. So legal, lawful separation is key there, but that's good. I'm not having a go, Billy, and I'm happy to see, you know, you're moving on and we're moving on, but we've disregarded the importance of the live birth so much. Mum's paperwork that comes with baby after hospital, and the weight, you know, when the midwife comes around and checks weight, you know, a legal personality doesn't have a weight, it doesn't have blood types, it doesn't have inoculations, but man, blood, etc. does. So there are other ways, including the evidence of life, essence, incarnation premise that we've got there, based on 3 witnesses and chapters from Matthew, United Nations, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all humans, HUE hyphen mans, when I say humans, not HUMANS, one word, or HU hyphen dash mans, but HUE, colour of mans, for the purposes of clarity, the avoidances of doubt. I'm speaking Oxford English definitions and not legalese, so there's no monsters here, and we've come a long way.
No translations into your foreign languages, thank you.
It seems that John's telling the room where he's been. It looks like he's been put somewhere against his will.
For his own safety, maybe for ours. Will we ever know?
Yeah, I'm going to catch up now. Michael's in the house. Kathy's in the house. What does capiche mean? It means okay. Capiche? Do you follow? Capiche?
Understand.
Yeah, you get me. Yeah, Michael's bang on. Do you get it?
Very popular with the Sicilian Brotherhood, that saying.
Yeah, it's an Italian. Yeah, I've got family over that way of those genetics. So just to play on words. Jeff Smith, Aztec calendar, 6 sun, what's known? Chat room, you can answer that. I'm going to move on. Even though it is a full moon in Sagittarius, lunar eclipse title, I'm going to bring out some of my own on that. I'll let the room answer that, and you'll hear from me later on that point. I'm going to bring the second sun and bits into the thread.
Yeah, Jerry's put in about disclosure in there. That's what I mean. You know, Pete, you're absolutely right, Jerry. But as you say, you'll speak to people. Oh, like Dave was saying, oh yeah, but you signed the driving license. You've agreed to the condition. Yeah, you've agreed to what you think totally above board. Turns out it's not. So that's it, and that's not of your manufacture. That's of theirs. So absolutely right. Non-disclosure, you can't have agreed to something that you didn't have full disclosure of. So that's how you get around that one in law or in commerce even, because that's what it is.
Yes, that's right. Non-disclosure, we didn't have full disclosure, and we didn't have the knowledge to hand at the time to make an informed decision. For contracts to be valid, then there has to be certain points there. The application of the signature is our consideration, as well as obviously the signature and full liability, as opposed to protected signature without the liability, or even an autograph. Either or are better than a full signature. You know, that is your consideration applied to, and new information, first-hand knowledge has come to hand now. So then we can, by expressing the correct titles, dissolve them. So. Appointed, and they try to disclaim their duties. So
yeah, I want to welcome Lisa too. They're coming into the chat.
Thank you, Jerry.
Lisa and Maria. Oh, there's Maria, yeah.
Alphonse is pretty good. Carl Lentz style with a bit more kick. Oh, I'm liking that, G-Man. He does affidavit of status, fact, truth, bar, grievance, and the like. Thank you. Paul Unslaved filmed a traffic stop where he had no license, registration, and stood his ground under common law. Very interesting. Oh, brilliant. And okay, so they've got some clout, is what you're saying. David, Claire done good work today in the private with Dunn's number for tomorrow. Private chirp. Nice one, Steve. I'm glad you're enjoying that exclusive SPLS Pro private Telegram chat. There's a little additional bonus. I have said I've included the scribes on this channel that support via donations, effectively members, and then to the .com. So we have a Telegram group which isn't as cluttered, and it's got less than 50 in. And it's keeping its thread, and it's rather concise, because the main chat that's now over 200 and something has got cluttered and messed up, and we're appreciative of it. We're not complaining, but we don't have any control over who clicks that link and comes in. We do moderate and administrate, but we had a live chat on Wednesday where somebody invited Andy Crown Divine. I've never spoke to him firsthand. I've considered reaching out to him ever since myself and Smithy had a chat some years ago with Jason Ward, Emma Ward, John Winoa, Andy Devine, myself and Andy. I found that man even more cantankerous than the late David Baron Ward. John Winoa appointed himself in principle as the new kingship above man. And when questioned upon it by myself and Andy, he got vexatious, angry, completely rude. And yes, since then I haven't spoke to Andy of the Divine Clan for various reasons. And he came into the Telegram chat, and this has all been said to him, and it was a public open Telegram chat, so there's nothing private here. He consented to this by coming in, and he started asking if we'd read, and I had read Baron David Ward's affidavit of truth, and there was alleged case law surrounding that, and we explained that there is no case law, and we explained that an affidavit is the strongest, most powerful instrument legally and at law. Obviously it can be used in the UK for civil, and it should be, and it's definitely used in England and Wales higher courts and law, as opposed to UK civil policy. And it turns out that the Wandsworth, Warrington, whatever council it was versus Ward had no case law, because what that affidavit did was discharge the charges, of which I pointed out, well, that's easily done, and it doesn't really take that amount of pages to say I don't consent, and to put reasonable doubt into minds of magistrates, lower, de facto applying due process. And so we referenced there is a discharge there, and we were grateful and thankful for Andy's presence, but he came in offering somebody else's work, and trying to say that that would be the be-all and saviour of this civil court practice, and certain remedies there which we're already aware of. And also he came in quoting David Windmiller's correct sentence, past syntax, grammar, of which I pointed out we use syntax, and we don't use Windmiller's copyrighted whatever language that is, and we use English linguistics and Oxford styles languages and syntaxes. I referenced who was it, Noam Chomsky's 1960s publication, going back to where I first come across syntactic structures, and it isn't exclusively Windmiller's, it's Oxford English, it's American English, styles, grammar, punctuation, and that can be used effectively in accordance without having to use Windmiller's if you look and research. So with all due respect, there wasn't much to offer. My opinion and others' opinion, was that we were grateful, but we're all right as we are. And coming in authoring other man's works in an area where we're pioneering, originating, and not imitating, and that's why we're predominantly good and knowledgeable at what we do. And furthermore, for the last bit, I explained that I have effectively, on behalf of a private lawful trust, somebody asked me to go down to an Oxford magistrate and be trustee in that. They were the beneficiary, and the grantor. I was the trustee, and I had to help them navigate their way through a magistrate hearing for a road traffic offence infraction involving a hearing trial. all right, taking the stand is what the principal had to do on behalf of the driver, and then take a direct cross-referencing examination against the traffic officer's claims. And we, in a nutshell, got that discharged effectively using various civil court practices and manoeuvres and not, consenting and so forth. And the jury discharged that. So we've got quite a lot under our belt already, and we're very much in an advanced area without being arrogant and whatnot. So it was that's why we have this private group for the .com private trust, and also for the scribes here that support, so we can differentiate and focus on what we need to get done, and then we can alternate from the public to the private. Oil and water, never mix the two. So Kevin, Anders, you were both there, your feedback or comments on any of that?
Yeah, like you're saying, claims of the affidavit and then the claims to case law, and as you're saying, you're in two different jurisdictions straight away. He's, Ward standing in one jurisdiction with his affidavit, but the court is operating in another jurisdiction. Hence, they don't have to deal with it. But to claim it was, I'm not saying he didn't put any effort in, but it's an awful lot of pages to just basically point out no consent, and it is not case law, and that is at best disingenuous, and at worst downright deceptive to claim it is. And people like, I've got no problem with Andy Devine, let me just get that clear, but people like him that are claiming, and Baron Ward, he did this and he did that, he didn't do any of it. And if you can't even get your head around the fact that his claim is nonsense, then you're lost from the beginning. So to keep pushing it and say, oh yeah, that wonderful case law, then you don't know what you're talking about. You clearly don't know what you're talking about, and that's dangerous. That's more dangerous than keeping your mouth shut, to me anyway. Sorry, Anders, do you want to have a chat, mate? I didn't mean to talk over the top of you.
No, I was just going to say I don't have a clue what we're talking about here.
You don't need to. It's all nonsense anyway. You was there Wednesday. You heard it all. Yeah, you was moderating the chat whilst it was going on.
Yes, actually, but I have to say that I think it's pretty cool that there comes in somebody else and then they give their opinion, and then you guys, you go in there and you correct them, I love that. I think that's a brilliant thing, because they're coming to our site, our chat, because they're looking for something, and I think it's really cool. I can't help that. I don't see anything, yes, of course, I can see problem in it, but I think it's a cool thing, I can't help that.
Yeah, we're open for discussion. That's what I'm saying. A summarization of that is that we originate, we don't imitate. We look at many areas and we got skin in the game, whereas others haven't got skin in the game. There was renditions of others' works, and we had to then put parallels and cross-examinations in and point out we promoted affidavits, especially this channel, I and Kevin, for some years, and we realized when we looked at the 10 commercial maxims of law and precepts, biblical precepts and the axioms, and then we found some years later, since the 2015 incursion, the foundation establishment of sovereign paralegals at the time on Facebook, and then the finding of the trust law and the triangle and the grantor. Franco Collins helped me with the God creator at the top, Christians, beneficiaries, Catholic Church, the trustees, that kind of a primary trust, which was then indicative of the trust that I found in Genesis, Genesis, the first book of Moses, Adam and Eve tree, good and evil, knowledge, fig leaf, apple, getting kicked out. There's one of your first legal trusts that is ever depicted, and we've had to then, you know, use that. We've gone out, and Kevin and I especially have gone out and put this into practice. We've tried to, you know, before we come out and even proclaim any kind of possible, you know, what remedy or recourse or redress and etc. We come out and we tell you what we've done, rather than second-hand, third-hand knowledge, and then not to understand fully the credence, the importance, the way that these things would work in a civil or even a criminal argumentation or defence for. You have to be able to stand, like we said about the buildings and the foundations and stuff. So there is a reason why that worked, and it wasn't actually continued as effectively as it could be, because if the claimant is discharged, then we've got then to close it down and to get our schedule of fees. You know, you are performing, you've put a performance in, whether you've done that via your paperwork and the officer inside the court representing as your paperwork preceding man and putting out the paradigms and corrections on that. For them to discharge it means that there was a whole load of waste of time. In America, you'd say they were bogus charges, they were trumped up charges, they didn't stand, the case had no validity and standing at law. And so therefore what you'd need to do is the same as what happened in the Oxford magistrates. I can't Adam and Eve what happened when they discharged it. The prosecution turned around to the representative of the driver. Obviously it's the same man, but there's the data self and the Christian type blood effective lawful sovereign, and the prosecution leans back and goes, so then, Mr. X, how's your father? I went, you what? What do you mean? All my days, you've just been there trying to hammer him on the cross-examination for these civil, you know, offensive, traffic offensive, criminal offences, and now you're asking him how his dad is. Small little Oxford, you know, a unit there, a landmass, and he happened to know the accused. They're not the deaf end ant, but in his eyes he was. And I'm like, this is a conflict of interest. I said, you should be opening your checkbook right now, and you should be issuing some kind of payment for damages and fee schedules and the claims. It's not just because we've discharged it. The magistrates have come back in after deliberating for nearly 45 minutes and taking expert legal advice, you know, and they've discharged, and the officer went out and slammed the door. The prosecution, the magistrates went off because it was 25 to 6 on a Friday, you know, which was good to see that they put that extra time and effort in to actually carry out a common law ruling, use common law. And that's why I say with the common law courts, there is common law in our courts. You just need to know how to, what's your rights, to assert your rights, retain your rights, and use the system effectively. I'm like, you should be getting your checkbook out now, pal, and paying this man some damages in his schedule of fees. You're lucky he's let you off. For you to turn around and ask about how his dad is, and the same for Baron David Ward. He could have then put in his claims and argumentation and then got the money and the damages for, if they've discharged the charges. You see, we fail to hold them to account, which is the crux of the matter. Just because they've dropped the charges, oh, celebration. Well, kind of, yeah, but the business is half done. So we need to complete that line of business and, you know, manage that and hold them to account for what they've attempted to do. This legal system, it tries to take and it wants to take, and it shall take, unless you know how to, especially with family issues and bloods, what we're looking at now, offspring, procreations being taken, anti-molestation orders being put upon fathers, so the social services can get you into a family, you know, generally private law court. I say that loosely, they're not courts, they're not law, but you know, then we would look at certain things to hold them to account there. This is the area where we're going to excel upon, and very, very soon. So we're moving to, you know, other activities and areas of which are more, I don't know, worthy, rather than charges for horses and taxes and penalties. We're going to use what we know and go through the areas, you know, for humanity. Yeah, and put our divine rights back into play. But it's, you know, it takes confidence, it takes knowledge. You're happy, most of you would be happy, and it's only fair to say to be discharged and have the charges discharged is a great turnaround compared to what you was looking at but that this system will take the PISS and have you over a barrel. And then when you manage to hold them to account and discharge it, well, then we need to hold them to account for what they were doing. And if we can't do that, then that's why they do it to the next man and the next woman and the next man and the next family, because nobody ever comes back and takes this to the kind of place which would be the Supreme Court, which is a division of 3 courts in this landmass, not just American, as the Supreme Court. And we would then also look at the House of Lords to make a ruling upon that and go forward, so it would never happen again. That's the area that we're pushing into right now, let me tell you. Sorry, a bit passionate there.
So you should be.
You know, that one more thing, that like the Holy Church expecting the return of the Son, the prodigal Saviour, to return on the 6th of June 1666. You'll notice that there are 3 set of KVs, a 1540, a 1666 and a 1707. Well, in the 6th of June, the 6th of the 6th, 1666, too many sixes in there, I know, but not my doing, it's what we've found. And they expected the prodigal Saviour to return on that day and for him to change the future for the better. Well, Christians, Catholics, Rastafaris, you know, Zionists, Jesuits, all of the Taoism, the Zen Buddhist-like mentality. He did not. You know, an infamous act was enacted instead as the Holy Church, the papacy, the papacy, the see of paper, the paparazzia, the see of paper rats, all of that. You know, they decided that they shall continue to rule with the divine right of kingship, which is why we don't respect mans like John Winnower, Greg Hallett coming along. I'm your new ship. I'm the new king, lordship, etc. We have fellowship and township. In the 1666, Seta KV was enacted, one of 3 said acts, as I've said. And we're not waiting for, as they did, for the Christ-like Messiah to come down and fix our problems. We created the problems. We've allowed the problems. Man created man. Man created government. Government created persons. And we will go back to being man and manage our persons and hold the government and the papacy and all of these alleged archons and ships and lordships and kingships to account. QE2, we indeed do have an issue, and this is the general main narrative that we're going to get you to. We're going to give you the knowledge, our lions of love and light. You know, this ungodly worship has been caught out, and somebody has to make sure that mankind and nature are to survive. I'm no king, I'm no leader. I shall assist in this as the Holy Father in the universal Christ consciousness has instructed me to do so. I shall be obedient and I shall serve only this lawful cause. And now you see why I, Kevin, Claire, Gansders, all our admins, all of the ones that you know of and have seen, the ones that are doing the good work, that are carrying out the deeds as we do, as SPLs do in our private and Abrahamic trust, and that includes all 3 of the major Abrahamic faiths. We do that for the greater good, not for our own selfish gains, viewership. By doing this work, we shall profit. I ask you, what does it profit a man who gains the whole world? Well, that's what it will profit a man who gains the whole world. We offer guidance. You are to all walk your own path. Without that journey, there will be no destination. So I've written that. That's a little rendition of something that I've put out there entitled A Possible Vision for the Future of Humankind. And where we're at now, especially after the last 15 months, children are treated a threat as like stray dogs, and they are dying due to a lack of money and credits, food and water. In some countries right now, we're looking at devastation caused by natural disasters, such as the weather's inability to maintain a constant seasonal climate. Example is, it's very cold here in May on Anglo Terra Firma, the coldest since, allegedly, they say 1959, affecting plants, productivity, insect lives, habitats. And if this continues as it is, left unchecked and unbalanced, then we're going to be in a really, bad, mass disorder. We are messengers of the ages, and this is the mess age all right? But hear that, mess age. This is the age of mess, and we're coming to the end of it. According to the zodiac, we're going to go through the flood again, as the Sumerians pointed out, where Zachariah Sitchin's didn't quite give us the truth there about that premise of his discovery, the mess age, the age of mess. And according to the zodiac, we'll go back to Taurus, and then we'll go back to Virgo, Jesus's mum, allegedly. Then we go back to the fish, Jesus, and then we go back to forward to Aquarius, as this is moon, what would I say, Sagittarius, related in the title there. It's astrologically referenced, and the water, the flood, the cleanse is coming again, not just because we say it is, but because the clock above says that, the kingdom of animals say that, and also down here, we can see the disorder that is taking place in this age of mess. We are sages of the ages with an important message. So I don't know what you value your offspring and procreations as, they are our true, gold, our true diamonds, our true wealth, and trust is our one true currency. And this is going to be in the future, or right now, it's a survival of the fittest. We're becoming desperate and further desensitized. Our present behaviors and actions that are being displayed show insensitivity. They show us, how some of us have become over the last 14 months. Thousands of procreations, offsprings are dying every day, internationally, locally, due to the basic lack of essential rights, food, water, and shelter. And yet we call ourselves religious, honorable, conscious. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment. Jesus ain't going to come down and fix all that for us. I tell you now, I don't want to insult anybody, but that's the work that we're here to do, not the TDA, not the secure party creditor, not the Treasury direct accounts, not the Federal Reserve accounts. They come later once we've done this work, so we're trying to intervene for these reasons. Well, when we meet you and you talk to us, your problems that you bring to us are 1 in a million of the same horrific problems that have encompassed humankind in your town, city, state, countless countries that are in the same boats and ships, ship, anagram of hips, citizenship. It's just, the illegal is the undoing of God's law. That's why you have these precepts of the religion, the New Testament, Old Testament, generally new in there. And we've been invaded by the devil's armies, so to speak. The devil is indeed in the details. You stand aside and look, we can't carry on like this, can we, fam? I'm going to yield there. I've said enough again.
I would actually like if Claire, she was doing an resume of last week, what happened within SPLS Pro, what we've been doing here.
Sorry, Anders, it went a little bit quiet then. You'd like me to share what we were doing in the group?
No, I mean what has been happening here, what we have been talking about and everything. You know me, I got Alzheimer's. So I only have a feeling there was something happening. And I'm sure that you are the archive.
Well, there's been quite a lot happening, actually. We've done some evidence of life witnessing down here in the West Country, which was very nice at the weekend. I've been working on some theories of my own with regards to country and nations and, sovereignty and states as in states of mind and things. So that might be a video that we do soon coming up. Just trying to think what else we've got some I don't know, my brain's gone blank. Give me some clues what we've been up to. I think I've got Alzheimer's as well, or it's my ADHD memory.
There is nothing.
Alzheimer's by osmosis. Is that what you're saying, Claire?
It's going really good though. I mean, we're getting lots of you know, really good feedback from people, and reaching out with really useful questions that are, you know, targeted and specific, which I think is really helpful. It's helping me because I'm still new to all of this. So when someone asks the questions and then, you know, I get the reply, it's helping my learning as well. So keep the questions coming in. I think mindset as well is a big thing with this. It's once you start unpicking the language and the wordplay, it doesn't take long actually for it's like we've got to unlearn everything that we've learned, isn't it, with regards to language and things, and rethink a word that we has a normal meaning in everyday life, but then has a different meaning in the law realm. And it doesn't take much actually. Once you get to that point, you can see it. I've noticed, I'm noticing it now in so many places, like, you know, talking about making an affidavit, which is what, a statement. So a statement of truth or a statement of facts, or it's statement, like government, statement of mind, you know, yeah, I love the whole word wizardry and lyricalness of it. It's where you definitely come into your own, David.
Brilliant, Claire. Brilliant. You're doing a great work on all levels.
Agreed.
Yeah, and
absolutely
it's so needed, and I think it's right, this is real freedom. This isn't just about, you know, it's about you really being able to learn and understand what's going on, that sense of empowerment that you now know how to be able to respond appropriately to things, and not I hate to say it, but it is like spells, you know, that letter that comes through, it has a physical, physiological, emotional response to it, just the words, where it's come from, you know, and it's being able to disarm that and not have it have that same impact on you anymore, which is really nice. And I don't know about you guys, but I think karma's going to come back. I think they've got some good karma coming their way. Rightly so. How the system is just deliberately, you know, designed to make it difficult, you know, for certain, you know, sections of the world. We're just, unless you're up there, it's only takes that one thing, doesn't it, and it throws everything out, and then it's a struggle to get back up, and you get one of those letters, and then that it just has a vicious cycle, doesn't it? It sort of spirals. So being able to take control of that and see the fraud where it is, and like you say, hold them accountable. They need to be, you know, it needs to be held accountable. This isn't okay at all. So yeah, very blessed to be here with you guys. It's great work what you guys do.
good to have you, Claire, to be honest. Needed some new energies, and so we're very grateful that you've come along as well, and prepared to put in the time you're prepared to do. We really appreciate it, and you know, we're more than happy, as you're well aware, to help you out when needed, and fill in any blanks or correct anything you're unsure of. Exactly what it's all about. So yeah, we're very grateful to you for the time and everything you're putting in recently. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. It's lovely. I'm really enjoying it. I'm also now doing some creative work for you as well. I don't know if that's been passed up the line yet, but
Steady on.
See, Claire wrote something the other day and sent me something in Telegram. I don't know if you'd like to read that out, Claire, and present that to the family. I did say I'd like to see the. I'm not going to claim it as mine. We credit all, you know, minds, and I think it might influence the room. You're getting some positive feedback, for those that are there here now and on the replay. If you don't want to read it, then I will give a rendition from it. But I think it might be more eloquent and effective coming from you, as it's your work. And you know, that message you sent me the other day, it's not often that I'm blown away. It's happening more and more of late, as the, you know, ones that are chosen. We don't choose equity chooses us, and then the trust, you get chosen by equitable measures, hermetic, lawful, universal, immutable laws that are in effect in this atomic universe of ours, the solar system, galaxy, universe. It's all the same rules and laws we're seeing having effect, and I'd argue that there is a creation behind that, a creator, etc. And I'd like to say that, you know, it's not just you, there are ones out there that are shining very, very bright at the minute, and there's lots of you, you know. I'm not just saying there's only Claire, but she's here now, and I'd like to just consider, I'm trying to give you time to look it up and reference it, but if you don't want to, then, or if you don't want it to come out now, then we won't. But that was just an example of what when Anders said, I'm just, well, nobody's just anything. And yeah, it was something that was truly mind-blowing. It is a bit of a paragraph, but if you listen to it and you know, you take that in, as much as what I, Kevin, Anders and others say, the ones in the chat room that are up to speed in this, the conscious ones, I think you'll all appreciate it as much as I did when I first read it. And I was like, yes, we've asked for women to come along, because this pale, stale, male, bearded environment of legal land, and then obviously the speakers that are out on YouTube have been mostly male, and you know, we don't have beards. As we're getting younger, the demographics changing, the consciousness is changing. So we prayed and asked the universe to provide female form, female energy, and only this could have come from an omega. I'd argue we are all alphas and omegas if you want to get into X and Y and what we carry, but predominantly man, male, female, lady, omega, predominantly, even though they carry the DNA of which is X. We are both all the alpha and the omega. I've gone into that a lot with the alpha, beta, and the hands and so forth, and the Sumerian base 10 number mathematics, but only this applied, you know, logic and the intent behind it could have been written by one of our sisters, a queen of the tribe. So if you're ready and you found it now, after my waffle and building up, I'm going to mute and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I haven't got the actual Word doc, but I will do a proper thing, and I will give it to you to share. So we were on, I can't remember what night it was. We were on one of our group chats, and the etymology side I just find amazing, and how there's so many parallels with one word in different jurisdictions in different places, and talking about states and thinking about the United States, but then thinking about, well, what about our states, our physical states? So I'll read it, what I've written, because it'll probably come out a little bit better. So, and what the inspiration came, I mean, I was up till 2:30 that morning, and then all day the next day. It was, I think it was just a divine download, really. It just led where it went. But reading through the Proclamation of Sovereignty and going back to the beginning, and the esoteric work that I'm studying with my Theosophy diploma, and Mark Passio's work, and lots of other influences, just, we're divine creators in our own right. If we are sparks of God, the divine, the universe, however you want to frame it, call it, whatever that is, and we manifest and we create in our own way. So, you know, we have a thought, we think about doing something and we make it. You know, everything on the planet that's not natural, we have had thought, the idea, and we've created it. So they created the Law Society, which then took language and flipped it so that we don't really know. So they're a society, aren't they? They're their own society with their own language. So why can't we do that? So if they made up their own society, aka the Law Society, which has its own language, And again, this is coming from David's work as well in his proclamation, and a lot influences from him too with regards to what I'm going to share next. So having temples, as in either side of our head, the temple bar, and them trying to get us to worship externally rather than it being an internal quiet connection of my connection to whatever the source is, as opposed to going to a place and having some man tell me how I've got to do it. So they've kind of inverted everything and flipped it upside down and inside out. So we don't have to externally worship or pray, we do that internally. Now, society, the definition of that, it's a group or a club or a companionship or a friendly association with others. And societies have a head of state. We have a head. We have states within our being. So in our bodies, our head of state houses our brain and our consciousness, which controls our physical states. Mind over matter. Matter as in topics, or matter as in also quantum, you know, physical matter, quantum physics, willpower. And the Bible says that we are made to have free will. I haven't got the scripture where it says that, I'm afraid, because I'm not, you know, used to doing anything like this. I'm sure David can add it in at some point. And then last, will and testament, testament. So test as in a small vessel. Meant like the government, as in meant, meaning mind. Government means mind control. We control our mind with our consciousness. So their law society created its own language using English to obfuscate what we really mean and confuse us. So we could do the same, being that we are divine sparks of the Creator. And if they can take English language for their private bar society and control things like they do, because they control the minds of the people, surely we can create our own society and language that gives us country, land, territory, etc., as being in our bodies. The Montevideo Convention, held in Uruguay in 1933, stated that a region must meet 4 requirements to become a state: a permanent population. We have a full microbiome of living inside of our bodies. It needs to have a defined territory. Our body has been mapped, as have our brains. Our genomes have been mapped. They map territories of government, and we govern our own minds. It also needs to have the ability to form relations with other nation states. And this is a no-brainer. We form relationships with friends and families, and also internally with different states, being able to manage and work out what's going on. Discovery magazine online had a heading saying that our body is a planet, and in the esoteric traditions, as I'm sure you know, it states, as above, so below. Women are like Mother Earth. We carry life. Our skin grows hairs from it like plants grow from the ground. Doesn't it say in the Bible that God made us from the dirt of the earth? And I think we all have the periodic table within our bodies. So if we are like the earth, we can be a country too. What makes a country? Country has land. Flies and bugs land on us. They land on our bodies. To land is to make contact or to hit home. Country has land. Well, what is land? Home, the region of a person or people, a territory marked by political boundaries. What's politics? The art and science of government. So the art and science of mind control, which we can do ourselves. Government is mind control is consciousness or willpower. Magic in esoteric traditions, as stated by Mark Passio, is the art and science of influencing change with the will. Now, countries also have nations. In the etymological dictionary, it says a nation is from the Latin natio, which literally means that which has been born. It's also a species or a race of people, a tribe, or from French nation, which is rank, descendants, relatives, country, homeland. If it means race, that's also a strong current of water, and we are 80% water in our bodies. Also, of course, people are descended from a common ancestor, like our breed and our lineage. Country could also be your habitual residence, as in an abode. That's another word for it. An abode is from, I'm going to spell it, Bheidh, which is Proto-Indo-European, root meaning to trust, confide, and persuade. Now, it also forms these words: abide, abode, affiance, affidavit, auto de frabid, bona fide, confederate, confident, confide, confidence, confident, defiance, defy, diffidence, diffident, faith, fidelity, federal, federate, federation, fiance, fideism, fidelity, fiducial, fiduciary, infidel, infidelity, nulfidian, perfidy, and solfidian, solifidian. So looking at the sea and the United States, how did they get set up and why use the term states? Possibly why the federal government, confederate, and all those other words that I've just linked were laid out. So what if they've been trying to tell us and we've not been able to see? Also linked to territory is land under the jurisdiction of a town or a state. Also domain, district, and it's from terra, meaning earth or land. In specific within the US, a sense of organized self-governing region, not yet a state. Territory is also the administrative division, usually the area under the jurisdiction of a sovereign state. Sovereignty is assigned to the person or the body or the institution that has ultimate authority over people in order to establish a law or change an existing law. In political theory, sovereignty is a substantive term, as in having substance involving matter, our physical matter, of major practical importance. And we are made of matter, mind over matter. Going back to that again. In international law, sovereignty is the exercise of power by a state. Our state consciousness exercises power over our bodies and our impulses. Power as in willpower, free will. De facto sovereignty is the factual right to do so. So the points laid out that I've just said are facts because it's written down and it's spoken. We are divine creators manifesting our reality. They manifested their law because it was written down, intellectual property, copyright, etc. We can do the same. So I propose that we form the USSB, the United Sovereign States of Being, as our private society that resides on the landmass of the Republic of New Britain. There we go.
I'll let Anders and Kevin comment first before I do.
Oh, I don't know really what to say here, but this is like, this is amazing. This is beautiful. For me, this is like poetry. It is poetry because you hear it and the way you are reading it too, you know. I have to say you are way better than David on the reading stuff and the subject. Oh, but no, it's brilliant. Oh, I love you, Claire. And by the way, I have to say to Lisa too. Lisa, I love you. So
Thank you, Anders. Yeah, I mean, I've got loads more. There's more words I've unpicked as well with it. But yeah, it makes sense. If we can use, if they've used language, then those words mean something in their realm. They mean something in this. They're our physical body. I mean, that's it, isn't it? We're individually sovereign states and nations.
That's it, man, realizing who he is. You see, this is what I'm saying. This is my idea of the, what should we say, the story of Christ returning. I think it's man realizing who he is. But just going back to what you've written there, I just want to, that's incredible, Claire. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a great explanation, opinion, insight. It was everything. Great words, concise, very easy to understand. Really loved it, Claire. Well done. Absolute first class.
Thank you. I think it just, yeah, flows, doesn't it? When it comes, it comes. It just flows from above, I think. Definitely tapped into something out there.
So all is within. That's it. Everything. You know, I know that's such a cliche, but it is. Everything's inside us. We have everything we need right here, right now. We don't need anything externally from that. And that's where we always get sent looking externally.
Yeah, and you think going back in history when they you know, they didn't have necessarily names for regions and districts and whatever. You know, you were just the tribe in where you lived with your tents and whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's they wouldn't have been USA and whatever. I mean, how old is the history of naming countries, naming areas, terrains and stuff? When did that all start? Like, I suppose I might go and look at that actually. That'll be something on my to-do list. David, have you come across any of that history of names and maps,
Probably.
cartography, and all of that stuff?
Probably when fighting started, that's when the borders were created. They didn't like this, that, and the other, and so it probably started then. We're calling this area this.
Never mind that. Anders, me and you are going to have a chat, fam. I'm disappointed in you. Oh, all the good things I've said about you, and you damn renegade. Give you a bit of a freedom there, and I know you're only messing. It's all good blood, and she has put that, as I said, when leading up to that, you know, rendition of what she sent me. You can imagine my starry-eyed surprise when she put stars in my eyes when I read that, and I had to like, hang on a minute, this is just genius. This is, again, we originate, we don't imitate, and the origination comes from the heart, from the brain, and from the gut. When the three are aligned, and we've been praying and asking for the feminine, female, other words for female, please, other than female, because that includes male, and I don't like that, and I'm struggling to find words for lady, queen,
Feminine. It's
yeah, feminine, yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one. But
goddess energy.
it's about time we this is the reward, the payback, and the delight. And I'm like, Claire, we've got to share that. That's got to be and this is the stage to do that in front of the 50 odd watching now, thereabouts. The rendition was beautiful, the intent was pure, and only a lady, a queen, the feminine energy, you know, and we go on about the left and the right brain and so forth. We've got the male and the female energy, and we're looking to balance the scales of our intellect. And men have had the stage for too long, you know, such as the church, such as the high paid salaries, such as the officer executive positions, such as ministerial government, such as everywhere, you know, even, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'll include the mosques and so forth. I don't think women are allowed to go in the mosque there. So it's across many cultures. It's not just white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, male driven energy, and square instead of you know, non-square and curvy and round and heart-shaped and stuff. So it's been a long time coming, and the room is loving it. The ladies are clapping, and I don't know if you can see the room there, Claire, but yes, this is what we've asked for. This is what we've prayed for. United Sovereign States of the Republic of New Britain is especially a nice touch at the end, because if we're not legal, and we're not in the UK, and we're not in the UK of GB, and we're going to say we're private, lawful, authentic, not necessarily Abrahamic, but the Abrahamic route is the way out. And we include all, you know, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, Catholicism, but we also include all of the other non-faiths that are loving, pure intent. As I've said, the Asian, Indian, Taoism, you know, and all other types of Buddhism and everything. Buddhism I like, because you can go there and still keep your particular disposition or faith, but still be included within Buddhism, Taoism, Zen-like stuff, mentality, practicing. So teachings of it's coming around nicely, because we're finding how we can express and how we can quantify whom and what we are. If we've got these different jurisdictions in amongst one another, why can't we express? And you know, as a family, as a clan, I don't like family either. You're going to find out why, about the etymological reference of that word. But as we speak in English and whatnot, family will do, and it means what it says, so we're all safe. But as a family, a clan, and a consciousness, we are going to establish, and we are going to put this to bed once and for all. And if we can't crowbar off or go to London and play Ring a Ring of Roses around the corporate city and force them out, then, as I've said, the Genesis, Exodus, trust of truce, where we don't have a war and we don't have a battle, because we're going to lose. And even though we're right, as Pontius Pilate said, I wash my hands of Jesus Christ, we're going to, I don't want to swear now, but if I give you a warning and you can turn down your volume, I'm going to continue with a little bit of cursive language. As Pontius Pilate said, we're going to fuck that shit up, and we're going to crucify him anyway, even though we can find no fault with him. So that tells you what kind of a system we're in with the Caesars of Rome, and then the since, conquering of the lands. Coming over to this landmass, William the Conqueror, 1066, unable to defeat that corporate city and the Knights of the Templar and etc. there, as many of you are aware. And then 1067, the deal being done. And ever since then, they've ensconced themselves on our fine landmass. We've had world wars, great wars, and we don't want to have any more, but we could articulate a way if enough of us eventually reside on this United States of the Republic of New Britain, United Sovereign States, or whatever we deem to call it. I like that. And I like the premise of us all not getting boots on the ground unprotected, but to do it in the reverse of what the Freeman, Magna Carta, common law, practical lawful descent, and all the others, which leads have been trying to get us to do, go out there unprotected and get boots on ground. Well, no, because you're in full public liability. And as per my post today in the public Telegram chat on Facebook and on the Indiglo community pages, protesting is in itself, in the word of protest, a dangerous thing to do. You're basically, a slave on a longer chain. There's been lots of million marches. There's been lots of protests. I recently posted Amsterdam's protesting and whatnot. I'm happy to see consciousness gives a shit and they want to go out and make their voice known. But again, there are other ways to reject and eject with the elected, each to their own. But protesting is not an act of freedom. It's an appeal to authority, like when we do petitions, and you aren't fighting for your rights. You're slaves begging for longer chains, in my premise and other premises in that meme that I've put up there. And to further cement that, so I'm not all doom and gloom, how many protests have we seen? Where have they been? And what have they achieved? Not really a great deal. There's been a lot of noise, and there've been a lot of, and I'm saying that's good, and I'm saying that the intent's good, but what I'm saying is, what was the overall, what laws have been changed, or codes and secular public attributes of Westminster and Whitehall? What have the House of Lords deemed afterwards? Nothing, very little. So it's great in a sense, and in one way, but on the practical level, million man's souls, consciousnesses in London, in the wrong place, not round a corporate city. I hear there's a man on YouTube now, a big guy, saying the same thing that I've been saying for some years. You're all going to the wrong place. Perhaps but then again, if we all went to the corporate city of London and ring peacefully, did a human chain around that, unprotected, in full public liability, we would still get cannoned, water cannoned, taken away. They wouldn't stand for it. They wouldn't go, okay, you've caught us out. We'll give the wharf back, and etc. And we'll go somewhere. No, they're not going to, like the Sarah Jisara that Kevin and I were chatting about the other day, and the premise of that bullshit that we must call bullshit, I'm afraid, because I'll let Kevin do that bit, as we said we would do. What I'd like to say is, there are ways and means of doing this. And first we protect, first we do powers of attorney, last will and testaments. We do the administration of the biological estate, the residual estate. We look at the nature of property and protection of property, getting back the equitable title rights to property and the correction of all of that. And when it's all done, and there is enough of us in substance to do this, and we're protected, we've got the blessing of the Most High, the Father, not the Lord, the Creator, and the syncretism and the synchronicity of, trust me, it will happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but there's an applied logical process to do this, as far as I see it. And that's why you will never get us protesting, boots on the ground, going live, because guess what? When they catch you, the police, this come from not just me, from somebody else that's on this chat, is all I'll say. They say when you do go out and you might get a bit leery, or you might decide to make a din, and you may get caught on a police video camera, CCTV, but any kind of public camera, and let's face it, they're everywhere. Crime and rape and murder has been going up. They put these cameras in to say to keep you safe and to protect you, but crime rates have risen and cameras have increased, so they don't work. They're not there to protect, and if they were, they're not working to protect, because rates, murders, and how many cases are solved with the evidence of cameras? Not very many at all. They're there to do maintenance, surveillance, maintenance on us, and to now use our face as like a cookie and recognition, digital age that we're in. You don't need to sign in anywhere. They will recognize you with the face recognition, much like the ANPR for number plates and etc. That's how that shit works, and that technology, it's not for us, it's against us. So you go out for your protest and you decide to make a din, and you might cause a public offence. You're not a criminal, but you breach one of their codes. Some months later, when they've reviewed the video and they've identified your face and they've put it through the database and they've got your residential address, at 4 a.m, the door gets kicked off its hinges and you get abducted because you got a bit giddy. You might have had a few drinks. You might have been under peer pressure. You might have joined something. And in the heat of the moment, you did something which breached and caused a criminal offence. Oxymoron. It's even an offence on public policy and legislation and rule, or it's a crime and there's a victim, but they don't see it like that. And with their word magic, they then say, we're coming for you. You've dared speak out about, this establishment, and you, at 4 a.m, you get a rude awakening from that. So these are some of the premises of why we don't, and why we want to do what we're going to do. And then we will do it in a different way, out of the box. We will be boxing clever. We're going to give some jabs of our own, but not necessarily in a violent, kerfuffle, as we've been led to believe is the right way. Kevin, I've buttered you up and led you up to a point there of anything to say. Yeah.
Say as well, before you move on to Kevin, I think it's also saying that we're protesting that they've taken something from us, as in rights. But when you unpick it and learn it, they can't take your divine God-given rights. They can't. They try to. People think they have, but I think that's for me, that's what comes up as well. I'm not going to let them take control of any of this anymore, or what goes on with my body or my mind. They're not. So they're not taking my rights.
Fair play. I was just going to say, last time we were talking about protests a while ago. I don't know if you recall, but I recall Anders making the point about demonstrating rather than protesting, which was a great point. But yeah, that sprung to mind. But yeah,
that's not correct.
Exactly.
It's actually remonstrate instead of
demonstrate. Yeah. But I do, I recall that. But yeah, so there's a lot of talk about the Nasara Jasara stuff. You see, well, if you're mental, that is. Anyway,
what is that? Because I don't really know about that. I keep hearing it.
So, well, I'll give you a brief. I'll give you a very brief synopsis. Okay, so there's this group that was set up by some people who call themselves Swiss Indo, or actually UN Swiss Indo, which is interesting. They have a guy in Indonesia called Mr. Sino, not sure how it's pronounced, who basically claims that if you go read some stuff on it, it basically claims, or he claims, basically he's in charge of everything. And the claim is that he has access to $1 quintillion worth. So that's, in England, that's a 1 followed by 18 zeros, and in the States it's a 1 followed by 30 zeros, allegedly. He claims, and every single one of us on the planet are due $6 million, which he has the authority to distribute to all of us, and and nobody can see the asset. I'll give this a little tangent. Nobody can see the asset that he alleges he has, this 1 quintillion's worth. It's mental. It's, if you go and do any DuckDuckGoing or anything, religious cult. It's nonsense. They claim they have documents signed by the Queen and the Pope and presidents, and it all went through Congress. It didn't. This stuff's so easily checkable. I can't believe people are still buying it. So that's a very basic overview. You go and have a read of stuff. It just amaze you, and the documents they come up with are lovely and colourful. With all, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. And as David and I, and certainly I've said before, so if every single one of us gets $6 million, what's $6 million worth? Because everything will be relative. So it doesn't make sense. Somebody's claiming that he not only has the authority, he has access to this, which I'm assuming must be in gold. That'd be interesting. And it works out, they had produced paperwork where you allegedly claim, so you don't get the 6 million. I think it's a $400 charge to get a voucher where you then basically, if you're an adult, you get $1,200 a month, I think it is, dollars, and then a child under 16 or 17 gets half of that. Yeah, it's just incredible. You go and look at these alleged documents, it's just ridiculous. It's such a load of nonsense. But yeah, there's loads of stuff. It is a cult, absolute cult, total rubbish. And don't forget, I did mention. Go on, mate.
Can I just say that we did say the same oppressive families and lineages and bloodlines that have been suppressing us all this time and lying to us and have done all of this that we've talked about previously and today and then some, are then just going to roll over and give us this with their agenda that's printed in the United Nations. We went deep one night and we had some real good laughs about this, didn't we, my man? I'm just trying to say that how we then correlated to what we know, what we've found, how evil and vindictive and heartless and cruel this whole realm and the setup is legally, undoing of God's law. And now we're going to have some peace and love, are we, from these masochists?
We're sorry. Here it all is. Go and have a lovely time, everyone. It's just.
We'll have afternoon tea with Her Majesty, shall we?
But I'm giving you a real brief synopsis of what's going on. But that's some of the claims. I say the paperwork and all that. See, this is another thing that Andy Devine and that are all behind. Nutty Neelu, Ved Chowdhury. It's just utter nonsense. And the point I was just going to make, you remember, now this Mr. Sino also claims to have at one point been head of the UN. He now claims he owns the UN. So if he was part of it, this is another thing that David and I were discussing. So the very people that are implementing Agenda 21 and 2030 are now going to give us all 6 million in gold because this geezer owns them, was at one point. He's even been arrested and put into prison, this guy, for all sorts of frauds.
But people are still following it.
And basically, oh my God, it's unbelievable. That's what I mean. No wonder. Let's hope all the same people have been vaccinated. That's all I can say. It's just incredible. But the claims. But I say I'm trying to condense it. But just go and read some of the stuff. You go and have a look at their sites if you want, but ultimately, yeah, you pay $400 odd. That's the figures I was reading today for a voucher, and then apparently you then go and claim. You put your claim in for your 1,200 a month or a week or whatever it works out to be. So you're not getting 6 million. But even so, this whole claim of he has a 1 quintillion and it's for everybody and all, okay, brilliant. Show us the asset. Oh, no, you can't see it. It's another religious cult, isn't it?
That number's just too big. Couldn't see it with your eyes, could you?
It's absolute. I just don't get. And there's so many people buy it. I see us putting all. I took some shots and that today, screenshots of some of the documents. I meant to send them over to David, but we'll put them up somewhere. Just have a look at some of this nonsense and all the alleged signatures on it, giving it authority, and it should have been released to us all in 2011, but it's absolute tripe, as I say. And then if you add up all the entities that they're saying involved, it definitely doesn't make sense. The people that are trying to get us off the planet are going to give us all 6 million. Well, to do that the day before we die, or what? I don't know. It's just nonsense. So yeah, just go and have a look. Yeah, do UN Swiss Indo, in DuckDuckGo, or there are other search engines are available, but not used by me. And go and see what you can find. So there's lots of stuff on it, and I would say 80% of it is not nice about it, but there's some very interesting stuff out there. But yeah, absolute nonsense. There's no, as I say, okay, brilliant, you're going to do that. Okay, show us you've got this asset that you've been authorized to release. There's probably not even that much gold being mined, is there? So there you have it, people. Don't go down that road either. Stay away from community.
We have a saying, everybody, and that is there is a saying, and that is the only free cheese is in the mouse trap.
Yeah.
Mice don't like cheese, actually.
They'll eat anything. Don't get awkward. Don't get ahead of yourself, young lady.
Mayonnaise and peanut butter, apparently.
It's not being doom and gloom about anything. It's just we've learned, to let me plug the headset in just for a minute. Learn to quantify things and to look for the proof of claim. Whenever anybody makes a claim, then we look for the proof, and the proof isn't cutting the mustard, so to speak. Sorry for the food analogies, but there you go. It's each to their own, and if it's the way it is and what Kevin has said and the way we see things, then this is it's too fantastic to believe. So we need to have a backup plan, a plan B. It's like preparing for Jesus, as I said at the beginning of this video, or into the beginning of the video, where we just rely upon the prodigal son and the Saviour to return. Well, it was professed that he was to return on the 6th of June, 1666, and he did not. And we don't think, let's go Bronze Age Palestine, and the premise there. Kevin, please, over to you. You know where I'm going. That bit, please. Can you recite some of
basically, it's part of a speech. I don't know if anybody's listened to any Christopher Hitchens. He's dead now, unfortunately. God rest his soul. But amazing character. And what he was saying was, the basic analogy is, and this is how he says it, although far more eloquent than I will. He basically says, what's his name? One of the Dawkins. Dawkins reckons we've been on the planet, you know, as man, sort of maybe 250,000 years. Hitchens says, he said, I'll use, just for my point, I'll use 100,000. Let's say we've been here for 100,000. That's not in dispute at all, you know. He said, so basically for 97,000 years, God was looking down, the gods are looking down, oh, look, the tribe, oh, look, they're killing each other, they're raping all the women, oh, look, they're poisoning the well over there of that tribe, they don't like them, oh, well, what are we going to do? And then 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, all of a sudden, oh, right, we've got to step in and do something about this now. We can't have this going on any longer. Right, now, who should we appear to? Should we go to China? Oh, no, we won't go there where they can already read and write. Well ahead of the game. No, what we'll do, we'll go to Bronze Age Palestine, and then we'll sacrifice a local. It'll be brilliant. It's just the way he describes it, you know, how, you know, of all the places that you would take this knowledge, that wouldn't have been your first choice after sitting around watching it all go off for 97,000 years and not giving a shit. So yeah, I but yeah, Christopher Hitchens, if you want to go and listen to some different views on religion, is how I'm going to put that. But he clarified, actually, he put to bed a lot of stuff for me on that side permanently. So, yes. And I got David into him a little bit. David appreciates him. He's just a fantastic mind. Brother of Peter Hitchens. But yeah, he was disliked. He was very outspoken about Islam, but as I say, very well educated. Yeah, fascinating man to listen to if that's your sort of thing. But yeah, I'd recommend it. You can go and there's loads of like 10, 15-minute stuff you can just go and watch and just get an idea. Some of his comebacks and retorts and points, and it's just yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, it's helped me get to the latter stage of the workings and writings, as I've mentioned, many names influencing the Bruce Lee, learning from the best and making our own style, rehashing the codex, the phonics and the sonics and the languages and the scriptures and the passages, and it was just it was fantastic to hear such articulation. And he goes and puts himself in places like we are now. We're not here to intimidate, vexate, aggravate, and to discourage. We're here to encourage and entrust and empower, and all of the positive actions that we can do. And we are here to divide the minds of man and to help you think and to take your questions and to even take the grumbles and the thumbs downs. Don't expect everybody to thumbs up and like it initially. When we take away your own personal Jesus, but you and I, all of us have had a relationship with, in some respect, all of us have been fooled. You know, it's not us standing here going, ha, 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 look at us, we know, you know, and you're silly. No, we're all in the same situation, and we're all going through the same legal attacks. The devil's hand in the scriptures, it's written, you know. So we're just saying that when we recognize that when we take away Allah's slightly different, and the Prophet Muhammad, Judaism again is slightly different with the Torah and the Talmud and the books. There are books that we've had as a predominant Christian nation after the Reformation of the church and what was happening there with convert to Christianity or die by the sword. And the Orthodox are different again to, so there's lots of different segregations of, they're called denominations of the churches. Denomination, much like the money is a denomination, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 pound notes, reserve notes, dollar bills, Benjamin Franklin's, euros. They have denominations. Churches have denominations. We will go through the next publication you're going to get. It's going to blow your mind away when you read this. And it's going to be given to you so you can make notes and reference and come back and articulate your questions and concerns and your doubts and everything like that. So what we're here to do is to tell you that we need to take away initially, or consider taking away, your relationship with whichever, prodigal son. The Abrahamic faiths are basically the same. Allah and Jesus, Abraham, and so forth. And what man has a problem with is then you take that away and you leave an empty space, and that empty space is a comfort zone when it's full, when it's got somebody in for you to pray to, rely upon, depend on, your own personal Jesus. It's Depeche Mode, the lyrics there, what I'm angling at, what I have angled at. I woke up one morning and that song was playing to me first thing in that beta brainwave tiredness state, and I didn't know why. And you get messages sent to you, I don't know, subconsciously, perhaps not so much divinely. I'm not trying to claim that, but then you have that relationship, somebody to hear your prayers, somebody who's there. And if you don't have that, then what have you got? Well, you've got yourself. I and my Father are one. For instance, and the Father is a universal Father. But apparently, looking at the revelations of the Renaissance that's going off within Egypt, and the analysis of Sitchin's work and other works there, as well as von Daniken and Bonacci and what's his name now, Maxwell, and countless others, Alan Watts, Neville Goddard, and many of them. And we look at it again and we put it together. What we've learned is that we've been lied to, all of us, all faiths, all religions, all denominations, all houses. And we're just trying to honorably, concisely put our findings to you and get you to join as one tribe, one family, one consciousness. And we work at this together as best as we can. And we should do that honorably, respectfully, non-vexatiously, because if we are going to proclaim the things and the ideas and the premises that we've put out to you today, and we're going to give a universal, non-sectarian remedy for all the family, for all the tribes, because God, he was not a fair man, a fair entity, because he had favorites. Palestine and Israel are in the news an awful lot, Benjamin Netanyahu and etc., and Biden and foreign war policy and etc. But he had favorites. And also the Lord in the scriptures sent down angels, and they wiped out thousands of men, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of men in battles in the scriptures instantly. Now, that isn't the actions of a loving, benign God, creator. There was three lords and etc. In these scriptures, in the Western scriptures that we've got in the Old Testament and so forth. So there is no love, there is no understanding, and it's his way or it's the highway. And so with the Son of God and etc., and the time it's taken for the recompense, for the slaughter of the Son of God, the crusade fiction, the cross of fiction is very important, and it's very near dear to all of us, as much as our procreations and blood is. And this system is not as honourable as it seems. I've recently republicised Confucius's teachings, which was way back before zero, thousands of years before the Chinese type mythology, before Buddhism, before Zen-like, kind of the beginnings of Zen-like and Buddhism, if you like. Do unto others as you want done unto yourself, which is featured in one of the 10 commandments there, 10, X, say 10, and so forth, the codes that we find, the number, synchronicity, symbology, and they, as much as the floods, the Enuma Elish, the Battle of Gilgamesh, the Nag Hammadi, the Phoenician text, the Codex, the Aleppo Codex, many and various. We're not just saying this to try to win things or it's a family mission. It's been done by men before us, and things don't add up. They're getting caught out with their lies, and we're at an age now with technology and the consciousness and understanding. You was on about UFO disclosure and certain things that are coming to light now. Consciousness is more than ready to move to the next stage. And as we approach the flood, zodiac type, you know, Aquarius, and the washing over, the great reset is written above. It's not just a terminology used by you know, multi-billionaire tycoons that are liaising with governments there. The reset is written. Sitchins, I will give you to my interpretations of that and some more clarification on all of this, as I did with brother Chris on Rice TVX, and as others are doing, not just us, there are many out there talking like this and with that same openness and understanding, and we do that to help and to say, what do you think? I yield there. Now look at the chat room.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of Sitchin books actually, and I've been going to bed listening to Maxwell, Jordan Maxwell. Some of his stuff's been really good, isn't it? Fascinating. I'm now currently on finding Dunn's numbers. Got a long list for the .com.
Yeah, we can add them to the database. Yeah, sterling work, brilliant work. It's all part of the articulation of intelligence, of intellect, of how we go about this battle. We are in a battle, soldiers, dog soldiers, dogma, and things like this. It's all very relevant, and each one is to teach one and to help out. So we pull the resources, we pull everything together, and we've probably got ones out there. We have got ones out there that are telling half truths and whole lies, but we've got others out there that are giving us 90%, 99% accuracy, and we are to recognize that regardless of their alleged allegiances and awards and ceremonial rings and handshakes. And, you know, there's a reason why I said about protest, resistance is assistance. And I'll say that again, it's not just because it rhymes. Resistance is assistance. And in this electrically charged, water-based, horse-based, upside down, topsy-turvy world of affairs, legal, law, language that we find ourselves in, the circuit needs resistors in it for it to function, for it to work properly. The ions in the universe, the ions work in technology, the technology and the words there, they fail me. The ions go into it somehow. Electronics, electrons, electronics, electrons without the electrons and the ions and the words and the suffixes and the prefixes and that. I can put all of this together better than I'm doing randomly for you now. But trust me, there's been a deceit, and there's a logic that's coming out now that will come over you like a washing over. And don't be scared, don't be insulted. It is going through the stages of separation, denial, anger, and etc. And once you come through that, you'll be grateful that you've gone through your own, you know, consciousness development, spiritual development, and we should join together as one and respectfully be able to articulate this logically now, in the ways that we've said, with the references that we've given, and correct. And even ourselves correcting, as we've said, with regards to charges and so forth, more electricity there, you know, currency. It's no longer a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact, or just facts. There is no conspiracy. The zodiac, the words in the zodiac type words, Aries, salaries, constabularies, dictionaries. Aries plays a big part. The moon plays a big part. Saturn plays a big part. Jupiter, Peter the Jew plays a big part. Zeus plays a big part. Greek, Egyptian, all of it, as the civilizations have been conquered and then the new have come along and history has been written. We've come a long way, and we should be very proud. And I hope that you don't feel like we're having a go, or we're coming out of a position of we are higher or better than thee, because we're not. We are all the same, and we've all been tricked. We've all got to work at this as a one consciousness, as a as a united, family. And when we do this, we will be able to help others. And that's how the system will be brought down, if it is to be brought down. Because if we go for a battle, we've got no resources, no army, no space force, no tasers, no weapons. And we can't really look at that as an option, because it's the definition of insanity to repeat the same emotion and expect a different result every time. We've been programmed and led to believe that there are only certain ways out when there is more than one way to, Sun Tzu, the art of war, regardless of what his, may be good or not, with regards to who that man was and what he actually did. Take that away, there is rulings there for supreme excellence, and that's what we're looking for, to be supremely excellent in the way that we navigate. Romans saying the measure of a man is how he finds his way back to shore in the middle of a storm with no navigation. That's what we're doing. That's what we're all on now. So I'm going to yield there.
Yeah, and the US military still use Sun Tzu, the art of war. They still teach it. Still part of, military lessons. It's like the oldest war book, isn't it? Strategy. I've got a copy here.
Oops. Yeah, thank you. It is relevant. It's one of the most oldest and still practiced routes alongside Roman traditions. And Mia, hello, sister. Thank you for joining. She's put a link in there about an article, and government spending literally billions of dollars in psyops, psychological operations, in many and various forms of disinformation, paid opposition. Easy way out. What man wants to do is look for somebody to pave the way for them, so we don't have to do the work. We don't have to look within. The Godhead is hidden within. The man consciousness doesn't like to self-analyze, we're reluctant to. We outwardly attract by what we inwardly project, and when we look inward, we go through pain. We go through the hero's journey, and man out there wants to just believe that there is somebody to help them out, whether that be the rapture. Rapture's happening every day when upon the mortal termination of life of man, and man crosses over, and the spirit, the soul, the ghost, etc., no longer is incarnate, and it goes to the next level, and reincarnation and all of this. It's the rapture, the return of prodigal messiahs to save. It's us that will save ourselves. And these psyops are massive. The world's greatest story ever told. The way that we externally, we want an external savior, when the savior is internal, and it's you and I. And it's as one, and it's as we do it now. It's a very, very hard job. And if it would be determined as to be easy, or to described as to be easy, then it would have been done, and we wouldn't be here now. So we keep looking. We keep finding new angles in this age of mess. The mess ages aren't always correct and validated. So we give respect and love for all that help and that have done the work, and we don't claim any of it to be ours, which is why this unification of us and you, and what we do, and why we're getting strong and popular. And we even honorably disregard or we discredit ones that come up with an option. And if it is a valid option, we'll sing and tell it on the mountains. People asking me about, I need to say this on this video as it's so that way inclined. My post recently about Benicia and Odera's claims, which are public on Facebook and various networks and things like that. We've seen the claims that have been put out there in the public, and I'm not associating them two names and movements that they have with what I've just said. I'm separating everything, and I'm just going to say that, those of you asking if the methodology is valid, and if it's true and not a scam or a psyop, or if it can be believed, well, you need to do your own due diligence like we have, and then come to your own conclusion. We can help you, and we can point you in the right direction. and then you can come to that. We don't tell you anything. We want you to make a decision. We want you to go on that journey, and we want you to, you know, to come back and then, you know, let us know what you think. But there are claims Matt Hancock ordered to the High Court on Tuesday to justify why he was allowing non-essential shops to open before pubs and restaurants. There is a legal action that has been effectively brought by nightclubs operator Sasha Lord and former Pizza Express boss Hugh Osmond to try to force the early opening of hospitality venues. There was a thing in the news, in the papers, in the mainstream media, High Court documents seen by a public national newspaper, that pair that I mentioned are challenging the health protection, coronavirus restrictions, steps of England regulations 2021 to the extent that those regulations provide for non-essential businesses, retails, businesses to reopen before indoor hospitality business. The order came from Mr. Justice Swift, and he said the Secretary of State shall by a certain time on a certain day in April 2021 file and serve his response to the application from the pair following the civil court procedural rules, high court rules. We're talking Lords. We're out of UK, we're out of civil, we're out of statutory, and we're into law of England and Wales. Mr. Hancock has been summoned to the High Court. That's as much as I'm going to say there. The Right Honourable Justice Secretary Robert Buckland QC MP on Bashir and Diana interview, that BBC, that's brilliant. Not what the subject matter, but the High Court getting involved. The Justice Secretary, the Right Honourable Robert Buckland QC MP, has made his decisions there. There was there was an incorporation of the report. The report wasn't done by him. The report was done by somebody else. And I'm going to leave that one there. So that's showing you, you know, relevance in what we're saying. We don't just attack because we don't like or we're here to discredit. We actually have case and point references. So when somebody like these come out and they move from mortgage swindles to Magna Carta to Matt Hancock, and then they come out saying there's been an alleged, and I don't know either way. All we do, Kevin and I, or I'll speak for myself as it's this is Indiglo and I am David and I'm hosting this in some ways, then I tell what I've seen and I put my commentary, and you're all free to add your little bit there about the rules and the policy and the procedures. So there is the Good Law Project we brought out has effectively managed to bring claims in a effective way, legally and lawfully, with regards to Matt Hancock and the man giving out contracts to his neighbour who's via WhatsApp allegedly, who runs a pub. Does that sound like honourability to you? Does that sound like applied process? James Dyson texting the Prime Minister to get contracts and things in. Do any of you have the Prime Minister's phone number? Do you manage to text him to tell you want your DWP payments reinstated because the agents have bummed you in the wrong way? Literally, the foundation of law is apparent. And if you're going to come in a public domain and tell us that you're using law, but then it's been sabotaged, well, how come others? There are more cases than that I could bring up and reference to articulate our doubt upon what is being put into public media avenues to, again, possibly psyops, paid opposition, or shockingly bad. I'll even use the word egregiously managed private claims that are being talked in a public capacity. That's your mixing of oil and water. That's Twat Valley, I'm afraid, in some respects. It's just abysmal, and there are basic wonderings in the public domain, and we are obligated, as they've put their stuff in the public domain, reference sabotage and falling down and ineffective paperwork, and for whatever reasons others don't seem to be having that problem. Others that aren't critically acclaimed comedians and so forth aren't having that problem. We've talked about Matt Hancock and his Privy Council member and his Health Secretary office and title. And there's many other things in there where we've got effective litigation and court rulings and lords involved about him being ordered too. And he's been in the news a lot lately for more than one reason. So it's for you to decide upon that, and it's you. We're not telling you anything, and I'm not making any claims. I'm not here to besmirch. I'm here to help us all get to the. If they need help, then perhaps they should come along and ask us or chat with us and come on the public cast in front of all of you lot, you know, and we can set out a roadmap on how to actually, you know, do this correctly and not have it sabotaged if it is sabotage. But I have put references to the various stories across the domains for you to look at for yourself. And this is why we would classify ourselves as up there at the top with regards to how we do things and why we do things. And if you're in the private, you stay in the private, the same as what we said about case law and certain things. You either do case law and it's in the public and it's referenceable for everybody, or it's done by a non-disclosure agreement and there is no case law because it's kept in the private. And if it's in a private capacity, it can never come into the public domain. You've been bought out. So it's one of those where you've got to have a look at. I believe the last story, just to further cement, I could stop, but as the late great Hitchens says, I won't. All right, there was an issue from the 70s about infected blood and the transmission of certain bio material that is non-beneficial to the donors that had the blood in the 1970s. And there's been a further exclusive judicial review to challenge the government's lack of support for the victims. At least 3,000 souls have died. Many are living with serious disabilities, having been given, I'll use the word tainted, blood products. A woman that was infected with hepatitis C from contaminated blood did launch legal action after the government denied her financial support available to other victims, despite accepting she was made sick by tainted blood. So the health secretary, known as Mr. Matt Hancock, he wasn't in power and the office in the 70s, but he today has had to, well, on the day, sorry, would have to give evidence to the inquiry into the infected blood scandal. So again, he was back in the news for that. I think it was Factor 8 that was imported often from the US in the 70s and the 1980s. And the health secretary was again facing questions about compensation, and he seemed to be acting quite honourably when he was when his office that is responsible for that, as he's the one in office now, is having to deal with that. So again, others have made legal claims in effecting legal claims, and they've done it well. And there has been that, you know, if there was such a sabotage mentality, then how come all these other cases that I've mentioned here today have effectively got to the High Court, to the ears of the Lords? I rest my mic. Thank you. You see, it needs saying.
Can't always come back after some of the things you say, David, because it's so thought-provoking and, yeah, you know, speechless.
Not your opinion, just your
I'm
opinion.
not often left speechless, actually. I've got quite, you know, a long range of vocabulary and can talk. But yeah, you often leave me speechless. It's nice to give you that time to sit and process what you say.
All right, then I'm going to look at the room and say good night to the ones that are leaving. I think Jerry and Tony, thank you all. If you're on the replay, thank you. And if you're here now, you will need to rewind this to get the full benefit of the content from myself and all of the speakers that we've got tonight. Very political, very much with love, very much with intellect, you know, and the right honourability. What we're talking about, we're trying to help you help us. And to help us, we need to help you. To serve the Creator, we serve man. And we often make ourselves a target. We have to say things very carefully to avoid defamation of character, slander. And if I speak facts on behalf of myself and Indigo, what I've said tonight is not by any way the premise of Anders, Kevin or Claire. It comes from Man David. So if anyone's got a problem with this and anybody wants to contest this, then feel free, because I will put the proof of my claims into, you know, the defense for that. And I hope to God it would be as it is, but it doesn't seem to be as it is. and others are asking why we think that. So we're obligated to think that. We didn't put their claims into the public. They've given admissions of private claims in a public area. They've breached the you know, that they've prejudiced their own selves, and we've got an obligation to look at it and then to give our opinion as they've brought it out into the public. They've made the claims, and then they are obviously with certain other things that they've done with regards to houses, mortgages, power of attorney, private and sensitive personal data of many variants, you know, maybe made mistakes, or they're paid to do that, and they are on a mission of some kind of you know, foolery. So either it's one of two things: they're either made mistakes and not honourable, or they're not honourable and they are trying to masquerade as honourable. So we've got to decide for ourselves on the fundamental facts that are put out into the public by themselves. And the ones there, Tobe, what do I say? And stuff, they come and put it in the public domain. People were sharing it and getting upon this. So much like other angles that have come out, we would then, you know, see, because it looks good and we get excited about it, and then we feel sad when we do some digging. Kevin, have you got anything you might want to add?
Oh, I could add loads.
That's a
No,
good.
Go on, Anders.
No, I just said it was a good moment to ask you when you have an cough attack.
Yeah.
They're designed to lead us astray, no doubt, and keep us from knowing the deeper truths. I agreed, Mia. That's not in reference to what I've said. That's just in reference to psyops and paid opposition and following the white rabbit. Stuart says, yeah, it's. I'm looking at the chat room. Kathy agrees with you. Kevin Menza says 2 Olympic swimming pools of gold just been mined. I heard a while ago. Wow! In addition to what's in the Vatican and bullion that's out on the top, then in the stock markets. Wow.
Well, there's not actually, if you think about it, right? There's not actually that much in reality that's been mined. In the big picture, it's really small. So somebody claiming an asset of a quintillion's worth is just ridiculous. Show me the money before I want to see the sweets before I get in the car, mister.
Good.
I'm falling for that again.
Good comments from the room of whole.
Not a second time.
It's the top comments here, but Goethe, 2/3 of the angels stayed with the Creator. That would be 66.6. Goethe then says 1/3 cast down, 33.3. The skull and bones of the, is it 322 for the numerology with regards to the skull and bones, and we all, that doesn't need explaining. Well, that if you Christians out there and biblical ones, followers, if you look at Genesis 3.
Masons.
If you look at Genesis 3:22, you will see why the skull and bones, that didn't come from Maxwell, that come from just some research that's just come in with them numbers there. 3:22, as you're saying, 66.6, 2/3 of the angels with, 1/3 cast down, 33.3. You know, if angels were non, what would we say, physical, if they were metaphysical and spiritual, then how can angels come down and have sex with the sons of man when they don't have any form? Doesn't make sense. And then to create the Nephilim and the abominations of the Lord, it doesn't add up that they're in heaven. What, did they become incarnate when they were cast down? Did they change form perhaps? Well, that wasn't written very clearly, to go against the Lord's wishes, the Creator's wishes, and the Lord's themselves, if there was 3 of them, and then to come down and to make with the children of men, to make the Nephilim which were allegedly why there were giants around in the antiquities, and what we find it again through recent renaissances and current exposures. And how could something that's angelic, you know, the halos are depicting around the angels' heads necessarily aren't halos of angelic nature, as we know typically, but could be, as von Daniken says, and that being Eric, that they were space helmets, and the heavens is described because that's the word they had in the language and linguistics there, but the heavens aren't heavens, the heavens is space. The stories and the prophecies that are written in the chapters and verses of going up to the heavens in the Ezekiel and the book of Enoch, you know, and things like this. It's all for, you know, it's not us just being negative and wanting to discredit. We've got a lot of good ones out there that have put some evidences to us that we might want to look at again. And if angels were angelic and non-physical, you know, metaphysics speaking, then they wouldn't be able to literally penetrate woman because they have no bodies. So again, it's as it's written, it doesn't clearly add up there. So we thank you all for your comments and for what, you know, you think. And I know there are a few in there that are quite devout, and as many of us should be. But then it's you know, it's just food for thought, things that you really should know about or be thinking about, and at least then tell us why and how, and we can reference that, and then we can come to an agreement, or maybe not, we could agree to disagree, which is fine. But what a chat. I think we've excelled it, and we might need to go and wrap up soon, fam. I think we've done enough.
Yes, I'm going to go and play Mortal Kombat on the PS4 with my son. Now it's done.
Yeah, I bought that. I've got that sitting here. I haven't got my head around that yet.
Retro gaming. I was good in the day. Been a while.
Yeah, and it's almost 20 to 1 here in Sweden, so I also gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
But thank you for a lovely chat tonight, and I have to tell everybody we have a Wednesday chat on the Telegram group, and we want people to come there with questions and even solutions, what they found out, the things that works, but it has to work then, you know, otherwise it's just questions.
Speculation.
Well,
yeah. Supposition. We've had enough supposition through the ages, and we're not into supposition. We're into, you know, actual proper position. So there's the link for the public SPL's Telegram chat. Finish him, says Goethe. Very apt.
Yeah.
Somebody's coming with a comment about Andrew of the Collie clan. Look at the box saga and Igor. Is it Ior or Igor box?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Anders brought that to me some months ago, and I didn't need that supplementary extra information. But what I found absolutely divine and fascinating, not divine as in godly, but as it's about the holy lands and the hole at the top where you've got Helsinki, and at the top of the pole is the P. So you've got a pole with a P, and that's the P pole. And I was like, no way, this is hell, the top of the world before the yes, when we look, we don't have time to mention all of our research extensively, but Anders brought that to me. It was with Christopher Hitchens was enough, and where we was moving from you know, where we'd been, and we was editing and putting together, moving the supposition blanks and putting in facts. I didn't need all of that, but I'm eternally grateful for the whole E lands. And there is no pole and P in Jerusalem.
Sons of Per.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew, for that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I spent a few hours floating about in that, but yeah, Sons of Per. Their sons.
That was it, yeah.
Just
boom.
It's just like wow.
But again,
Oh,
It
brilliant.
was a story. Okay, there's no facts anywhere. I'm not discrediting it, but let's look at reality. Let's just, when the the DJ, the music stops playing, the lights come on, it's time to go home now. Well, what have we got? Well,
Bit like Jeebus.
we've got a story. We've got a man, Igor Bok, that was the last of the Bok line, the bloodline, and on his deathbed, he or close to his deathbed, the story is the tale, the fable, whatever you want to termify it as, the non-tangible evidence, because there's nothing tangible there for us to see, is a testimony, evidence, and that's quite good. A testimony done in the right way is as good as fact in some instances. He passed that story down, and then you've got the man, what's the man's name, Anders, that isn't Igor Ior Bok, and he's telling Jim, somebody is on YouTube, his name's Jim something, telling the story that he was told. So it's not first-hand knowledge, it's not second-hand knowledge. Somebody told Jim, I believe, Ior Bok told Jim, if that's right, and Jim's telling us. So that's what we call third-hand knowledge again. So we take that, we accept it, but we don't necessarily believe it, and we put it into the mix amongst everything else, don't we?
Yeah, it is like the name is saying, it is a saga. So we have to think about that, but it's a saga that has been told through generations and generations over again, So of course it could be just a saga, but there is too much in it. There is too much in it.
So he explains it as a sa and a ga. It reminded me of the Egyptian ka and ba, not because it rhymes the same, but the two from and the sa and the ga, giving and receiving, and the way that was explained was quite some beautiful elements in there. And it's each to their own again, yeah, to be fair, but it's worthy of contemplation, to say the least.
Yeah, so it's another fable, similar story, like they're saying the Bible stories are told, much earlier than that in different styles, and it's all an adaptation, but it's just interesting to get like that another perspective, regardless of myth, legend, whatever it may be. It was very interesting, and there was, as I say, it wasn't like a basic premise, was it? It was like, oh, well, there was this geezer, and so and blah blah blah. It was, the story was amazing. So yeah, it's if you like that sort of thing, it's worth going and start at the beginning and have a go at it. It's really interesting, if nothing else. So yeah, that was a great find.
Yeah, and it was amazing when they was digging out that offering cave where they was throwing down these elderly people, and there is a movie made, English movie about Sweden, and it's called Midsummer. And there is the same thing in that one, that they are throwing those elderly people out of the cliff.
That is a weird film. I watched that. I think you sent it me, Miss Soma, the link for that. And I was disturbed by it, but not even pleasantly disturbed. It's not like Texas Chainsaw Leatherface Massacre, but it's equally disturbing on another level. But then again, some parts of it were quite nice, not all of them, but you'll see if you know. Misomer was the name of the film when you say Miss Summer, yeah?
No, it's Midsummer. Midsummer.
Oh, Midsummer then, yeah, there we go. That's
Yes,
my
yes.
poor
And
recollection.
the
Thank
thing
you.
is that all the things with this breeding rights and things from the Bok saga that is in this movie, so it's really like they've been taking out stuffs from the Bok saga and making a movie about that, like there is still an family line of them living, you know, and that could be possible because that family from the Bok family, I don't think they are the only family, you know. I don't think so. We have many families here that knows about the history, and they are using all their secrets against us, you know. Yeah, that's what I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot to consider in that, a lot to consider and to contrast and compare, cross-reference, and who came first, the chicken or the egg? Exactly, same type of story. But I just want to say thank you, Anders. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Claire. And thank you, Scribes. And for the donation there, Gertaz. Thank you, Gertej. And all the new in grey will make you blue over time. Thank you all. Welcome the return of John of the Middleton clan. Thank you for that. And the love and respect. We've done all right. We've done well. I'm happy with what we've said, and yeah, we can wrap up and say goodbye, fist bumps, etc.
No worries. Yeah, great in the room. I've just seen Barnes, so I forgot to say hello to Barnes earlier. Michelle, how you doing? Yeah, thanks everybody. Great chat going on in there. Loads of stuff going on. Great info and messages and stuff. Well done. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Still just over 40 in the room. Fair play to you. And much love. We'll see you all real soon.
Well, I'm just currently finding the DUNS numbers for London of Camden Borough Council, and so far I've got like 64 entries, and I haven't even finished.
Nice. Keep you busy.
Yes, it's a shame we have to do what we have to do to put up an articulate line of defence and argumentation, but yeah, money talks, as they say. DUNS numbers, companies' house numbers, and yeah, generally prime ministerial and agencies we find have those numbers that we can then put it back to them. They are useful to have, hold them to account, recognise their jurisdictions and who they actually really are. Not so much government, but corporate agencies like the police, for instance. Agencies or businesses. Government is a business masquerading as a government. So again, certain ways of doing things. So bless you, Claire. Well done. Good work.
Well, I felt I've got a secret, because when you go into DUNS and you put in what you think it isn't always called that. So it's knowing how to tweak your search to go in the back door. But certain ways around my searches that I'm not going to publicise here. I'll keep that in private, because they might change things, might they? And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye and good night to everybody, because my lovely son is here waiting to
no worries.
Keep my butt in this game. So I'm coming, lad. I'm coming, lad. Good night, everyone.
Claire, thanks very much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Much love to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bless you, sister. Thank you very much.
Good night to all of you, and thank you. And don't forget the Wednesday's chat, all of you.
Yes, Master. Master of the ceremonies.
All right, boss. I did nip in, Anders. I did nip in there because Dave let me know that Mr. Divine was in there. But I'll be honest with you, after listening to him struggle to get a sentence out for about, probably less than 10 minutes, and make any, for somebody that claims to know so much, he was struggling to be basic. I couldn't listen to it. I really couldn't. I just thought, no, I just want to come on and tell him to fuck off, to be quite frank.
did you watch Simpson instead?
No, I probably did something on YouTube. I was probably watching some crap on there, but I did come in. I thought I'll go and have a listen, but it was just as I say, for somebody, I'm not even against the guy, but for somebody who claims to have such a vast knowledge, he was just struggling, and it was painful to witness. So I thought, no, it's probably best I just remove myself from this before I get barred.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm signing out here. I'm saying good night to all of you. And yeah, as I say,
Night, Anders.
see you soon.
Later.
Much love,
Thank
mate.
you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Room. Thank you, Scribes, one and all. Bless up.
Yeah,
And we'll be
thanks
back soon.
everybody. Much appreciated. Love to each and every one of you. See you soon.
Let's do this. We'll be back soon. Sorry for the intermittent casts and updates, but we only come along when we've got relevant things to say, and we're not here. We've got time is precious for all of us at the minute. There's a lot we're focusing on, a lot that we're trying to do, and incorporate what we know to move to, like we said, some other pertinent areas of private property, nature of property, titles, rights, equitable titles, correction, and holding to account using not all, nowhere near what we've discussed tonight, but on those angles and areas. And we know we're on the right lines of inquiry. So, forgive us while we're doing other things. And we miss you. And I hope you miss us. Yes, that's the long goodbye finished.
Dave, I'll catch up with you tomorrow then, mate. That's it. It's off. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
No, I'll speak to you tomorrow, Dave. So much love to everybody. Thanks again. Really appreciate you joining us. See you all soon.
Yes, so all the chat panel, the souls, bless up. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, we'll speak tomorrow. I've got a busy day tomorrow again, but we'll make time. Yeah, we will indeed.
No worries.
UFO. The clock's just appeared in the background. Wow. Oh man, I just saw the YouTube replay. Some kind of glitching going off, but yes, much love. See you later. Thank you.
Oh
all.
yeah, there it is. Night. I'm off. Bye.
UFO. Let's end.